Hey everyone, today, continuing these videos, we're looking at the Pyromancer. The Pyromancer is a Demolitionist combined with the Occultist. And if you watched the tier lists video I did with Sino, you'll know we both put it at the bottom. And that's not to say it's a bad combination. Our rules were kind of like, if a class is very heavily gear dependent, and its builds are kind of few and far between, we kind of said that makes it lower on the tier list. So it's not that it's not powerful. I mean, I've seen Pyromancers, like, I think one of the, like, world record, like, fights against Mogdragon, or, like, fighting Fabius. I've seen Pyromancers shred those things apart. So it's not that they're bad. It's just that getting those builds requires a lot of gearing, and to me the two classes are sort of very, they're not weird like the Warlock is, but they're sort of not, it's hard to put in the words almost, that they're not exactly synergistic despite what they look like, despite what they offer, because there's a lot of fire and chaos between the two of them. But it's almost like it's still not exactly like there, almost. It's like, instead of, it's like their center and it's like right there. It's weird. It's weird for me to say it out loud, my thoughts on this class combination. But let's take a look at what we got here. So Sigil of Consumption is vitality damage and some lifesteal, but Destruction has fire chaos. Obviously Doombolt has a lot of chaos damage, and Possession can be a fairly solid additional amount of chaos damage. But you're not really going to get a lot of vitality damage out of the Demolitionist side of this class, and you're obviously not going to get acid and poison. In fact, I don't think you're going to get any vitality damage out of this. And vitality damage is actually really hard to get in terms of, like, I think Soleil's Witchfire is one of the, or no, it's not. Yeah, it is. Second Right is one of the few sources of, like, flat vitality damage that you could add on to weapon attacks. So vitality damage, you can get it with this combination, but I think the only piece of gear, just off the top of my head, I can think of that gives you flat vitality damage right now is, I think it's the Death's Life Seal ring from the Order of Death's Vigil, and that's sort of like a level 30 ring. So it's like, it's going to get very outclassed by other stuff that drops, but I think that might be the only source of flat vitality damage on gear right now. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong. I'd probably have to look at Graceful Dusk. But, yeah, this is just one of those things where, like, there's synergy up here, and then, like, obviously, Curse of Frailty works great, but I think it's like, it pretty much stops up here, and then on the Demolitionist side of things, it's like, it stops up here as well. Pretty much the second, like, the lower half of these two classes is just, like, so disjointed that, I mean, it's just, it'd be really hard to build around. I mean a little bit, like, well, now I'm thinking about it, there's lightning damage and fire damage here, and you can apply Flame Touch to your pets. So, it's just such a, it's almost a struggle. It's almost a struggle to think of builds for this, because yeah, you can apply the chaos, or the chaos, geez, the lightning damage to the familiar and the fire damage to the Hellhound, and the physical damage to the Hellhound, but at the same time, it's not great. Like, if there was a set, and we're going back to gear dependency here, that was Pyromancer based for pets, that could make that build amazing, that'd be amazing. But there really isn't. Like, most of the pet build stuff is for a Conjurer. Or oddly enough, a Trickster. That's the weird thing, but we're not in Tricksters right now. So yeah, like, Dreeg's Evil Eye, for, you know, by example, I think you can get, oh no, you can't get chaos damage on it anymore. Yeah, Dreeg's Evil Eye, I don't think you could make a Dreeg's Evil Eye Pyromancer. same thing with Bloody Pox. I just don't think he could do it. I mean, Blood of Drieg is actually, with Aspect of the Guardian, not a bad addition to the character, because it's a heal. But again, the bonus damages would be completely lost on the Demolitionist. So yeah, I think the main two builds you could go for in a Pyromancer with like a tertiary build. The main one is you use Fire Strike with Explosive Strike, Static Strike, and Brimstone with Soleil's Witchfire, Second Right, maybe work in Sigil of Consumption, maybe work in Doombolt and Possession, and you wield 2 pistols, oddly enough, and I believe they're Devil Tongue pistols, and they have this like wave of just chaos damage. It's just 2 of these pistols just firing away with Fire Strike. You can just dish out a ton of damage directly in front of you, but it's totally gear dependent. You can maybe also do that in melee, but you end up with this really weak build in terms of defenses, oddly enough, because although you do have Curse of Frailty, which is a great ability for every combination, it's only a slow. And you do have flashbangs, and flashbangs are awesome for crowd control. And you do have, concussive bombs, so you have this kind of a suite of things that can stop enemies, but it's not great. So yeah, excuse me for the sniffle there. It's sort of like an okay suite of defensive abilities. They aren't great though. They're good. They're really good. It's like if it were 100 is great, these would be like 85. And then the second build that immediately comes to mind is Blackwater Cocktail, because you can just throw them everywhere. Curse of Frailty everything, and you have Flame Touch Temper with Soleil's Witchfire Second Right with Possession, and you can just dish out the fire chaos damage like crazy. Just void fire everywhere. It would be a pretty awesome build, actually. And maybe throw in Hellfire Mines to weaken the enemies to your 2 damage types. And you could maybe work in the Hellfire Mines in the other build I mentioned. But yeah, it's sort of like the builds are a little on the... There's 2. And then the tertiary one was that pet build. Maybe would work. But again, kind of like super gear dependent class to get it really going well. And it can get really powerful, provided you can get past the gear dependency. And I just can't think of much else to say about it. I mean, a Grenadier would be only okay. Mortar Trap I don't think would work at all. A pure pet build for this, I don't know if it'd be ultimate viable. I can see going through normal and elite with it, totally. It's just when you get into ultimate, I don't know if it would work that great. You might be able to pull off a hybrid build. Might be. Because you're using Flame Touch and Temper, and then Second Right almost entirely. Or wait, yeah, Second Right? Yeah, probably Second Right almost entirely in this setup. And then you wouldn't use Soleil's Witchfire with the Blackwater Cocktail thing. It'd be Second Right totally. But anyways, you could maybe pull off a hybrid build here, but then you're really, really stretching your points thin, because you'd have to, in my opinion, get all the way down to Manipulation, possibly even Bonds of Biasmeal, and like the middle abilities on your pets would be hurting, and then whatever your main attack is wouldn't be operating at its fullest either. And that's sort of the problem with hybrid builds, and I don't think there's enough gear to support that. But like I said, a Pyromancer set, or even just Pyromancer things to help a pet build would be really nice. But yeah, it's very, very like, it doesn't sound disjointed on paper because it's fire and chaos, and that's what 2 of the damages are for these 2. But it ends up being kind of like the puzzle pieces don't quite fit together. Unless you get gear. Then they kind of fit together a little better, but still, it's a little like 2 builds, maybe a third. And I think that might be it. That might be the Pyromancer. So, yeah, I guess I wish I could say, like, more better things about it, but it's just so, yeah, just it's almost there, but not quite. It's 85 out of 100. If 100's all the way there, if 100 is a sorcerer, this is 85. Maybe 80. But anyways, yeah, that's going to cover the Pyromancer. So thanks for watching, everyone. Next video, we are going to do the Commando. So I will see you guys then.